welcome to the Australian Ecrit powered by KISS. My name is Jesper Anker, and I'm going to be your host tonight. I've been gone for the last week with the Tour of Britain, but tonight I am back here covering tonight's race. So we're going to be on Innsbruck tonight, and we're going to do the Innsbruck Ring 3 laps with the little leg snapper in the middle. You've seen it before in the chop, you've seen it in the Ecrit, and tonight you're going to see it again. It's a fun course, it's a fast course, and it's going to be a quick time up that hill. Joining me tonight is none other than the Australian Champions coach, Pat Shaw. How are you doing, Pat?
I'm good, mate, and thanks for letting me hitch a ride off Nick White's glory. But one thing you might not be aware of with this race, just because Wes and I did it last week, it's just 3 laps, 26 kilometres in total in distance. And last week it was Zach Johnson with an absolute rip-snorting attack here towards the finish. But also, last week's shorter race was probably one of the most intense Ecrits we've seen. But tonight we also have the Australian Champions jersey on display for the first time.
We do. So I totally missed last week's race because I was busy being on the road, Pat. But you say Zach Johnson went on to the attack. I don't think I've seen Zach Johnson on the start list tonight. We'll have a closer look once the race gets underway. But looking on the right-hand side, we do see Aaron Dunn is here. We see Kim Little is here. I've seen Cameron Roberts, Ollie Jones, Nick White. As we can see on the screen right now, that is that Australian national Zwift jersey champion. Pat, talk me through Nick White and just exactly who he is.
Yeah, well, Nick's younger brother to Liam, who also raced in the National Road Series, rides for the Oliver's Real Foods team in the National Road Series. And he's just been slowly ticking him by in the background over the years. He's a Ballarat local. I've known him for a long time, but was just a little boy when I was racing as such at the start. And then he's just progressed through. He did the Zwift Academy last year, made the final. Ollie Jones took that out. Nick was one of the other 2 finalists as they just roll out now, Jesper. But I'm actually quite impressed with the jersey. It looks very good. And I just make sure that I get on the wheel of these riders, so to speak. And I'll actually keep a close eye on Nick tonight. But he'll be looking to do a pretty good hit out leading up to the next National Road Series this weekend.
Oh, I see a fan favorite has made his way to the start list tonight. That is Mr. Pepper from the Aussie Hub Day Ride. Quite a few. Been following the Ecrit and the chops for the last few months. Pat, who's old M. Pepper here?
Well, M. Pepper sort of stormed onto the scene in the Ecrit Volcano course when he was giving some strife as a B grader to some of the A graders, but more recently, he won an edition of the Chop, where you and I picked a rider. I was lucky enough to pick Mr. Pepper. We call him M. Pepper, as his initials M. But he did take it out. He has been pretty quiet since, I'll have to admit. And probably tonight, not the course for the Pepper boy, because that leg snapper last week, they were basically sitting 650 to 700 watts from bottom to top.
Yeah, Pat, I was mentioning this to you before we went on air. I raced this course, 3 laps of this course, about 2 weeks ago, I believe, and I got absolutely spat. Like, that hill, you look at it and you think, yeah, I can power through it. You get halfway up the climb, and suddenly lactic acid starts building up in your legs, and the rest of the climb, you literally, like, your legs are screaming at you, I can't do anymore, I can't do anymore. But because at the very top of the hill, the gradient goes negative immediately, if you're not on the wheel of the rider in front of you, they're going to be gone. It's going to snap. They're going to be 10 seconds up the road. Pat, have you tried racing this course yourself?
I certainly haven't tried doing a race, but I did test the legs on the leg snapper, because without testing it on that climb itself, how are we to commentate on it, Jesper? So we have to put ourselves in the rider's shoes, albeit not quite at the watts per kilo that they'll travel up at this evening, but it's still good to get a feel, and I think it's exactly how you described it. It's about 5 to 7 seconds longer than what your legs really want it to be. But I want to try and create a little bit of a story here tonight. We've got Cam Roberts. He's close on the screen in the bunch, and he is the rider that ran second on the Nationals, Zwift Nationals, only about 3 weeks ago to Nick White. So is tonight his opportunity to get one back on Nick?
He's gonna try. They're definitely gonna try. But if the leg snapper was a Pokemon, it'd be the evolution. It'd be the evolved version of the Trafalgar Square climb on London. Like, it is just so brutal, and I do encourage anyone out there on Swift to try go do it in a race. Like I did it in a race with one of the gentlemen who's actually on the course right now. If we can just see if we can spot Adam Webb somewhere, he's usually towards the back at this point in the race. So Adam Webb races for One Love together with Aaron Lux, who are both back here in the women's Rafa kit on their purple Tron bikes. They can just they can snap your legs on the leg snapper. They just go so fast, and we're gonna see that today. As soon as we hit the bottom of the incline, it's about, I think it's 6 kilometers in. They take that left-hand turn, go over the bridge, and then go straight up. You're gonna see nuclear numbers. They're all gonna go into orange. They're all gonna give it everything, and slowly but surely, this pack will be whittled down. Because right now we have A riders, we have B riders. We do have Cameron Roberts in here, as you mentioned. I mean, if we look at it on paper, Pat, they should be the ideal course for someone like Cameron Roberts, someone who can both sprint and get over hills a bit better than maybe a heavier rider like Aaron Dunn. Like, how does Cameron Roberts beat Nick White and get revenge tonight?
Well, he probably learnt a little bit last week. What happened in the E-Crit last week, to give you a little recap for those that didn't tune in, and also Jasper, who was living the life
Thank you.
on tour at the Tour of Britain, was that it was just on from the get-go, particularly from the first time up the leg snapper. There was a new rider, and I'm just forgetting the name right at the moment, last week, but Watson, I think it was his last name. It wasn't Greg, and he pushed the pressure up the climb. But what we saw was something that you and I had spoken about the very first race on this circuit, which was the Chop, was that it could be won on the downhill and the flat run to the finish, and you could go solo if you're willing to risk it. And what happened was Troy Herfoss had gone off the front, and when he got brought back straight away after that, at 1.5 kilometres from the finish, Zach Johnson went straight over the top. The rest of the group hesitated, and he grabbed 10 seconds lead very quickly. And, well, he still had an aero power-up also in his pocket. So he popped that aero power-up at 600 metres to go, and there was no bringing him back. Cam Roberts, I think, ended up taking second place last week. So he's turning into a bit of the bridesmaid, and I don't think he'll like that.
Can't believe you haven't noticed this already. We got Nick White, who actually attacked in the Aussie Nationals jersey. And that sparked an attack further back from Zach Johnson and Ollie Jones, who's in that Dimension Data for Quebec kit. So Nick White has taken up the challenge. He knows his coach is watching and listening, so he's got to do something to put on a show. That was a great attack. He's been caught, but it probably wasn't the best timing because they're now going through the city center of Innsbruck. At the very top, you can see the map. Once they go over that little river, that's when they hit the leg snapper. So Nick White just attacked, has 10 seconds to recover, and then he has to go into a really tough, just really hard session up that hill. It's going to be fun to watch, Pat.
Well, yeah, it's always fun from our perspective. I mean, this is a good way to learn your limitations as well. I mean, Nick is in a really purple patch for his form. He's sitting third overall in the National Road Series here, nationally on the domestic racing scene. And he has really peaked at the right time of the season. And I'm not taking any credit for that. He's just a well-executed athlete and does everything he can. Keep in mind, he is studying at university and on placement as well as teacher. So it's not like he's just living the dream of a young pro life or something like that. So hats off. But it's Kim Little now that's deciding to lift it on the base of the climb. And he has been fantastic on this circuit, particularly in the Chop. But even last week, he was willing to lay it all on the line to bring Troy Herfoss back to then allow that attack from Zach Johnson. As we see, they're pumping up the climb, and like we were speaking about before the start of this E-Crit, those power numbers, 700, 800 watts from M. Pepper. Your man is pumping some watts out as well, but it's Zach Johnson trying to make the junction to Kim Little. It goes over the top. Zach Johnson about a 1 second back, then Wilkie, Pepper, Richards, Jones, Zawadzki, and well, Nick White, he's been left behind in that Australians jersey. And we can see, look at Zach Johnson, 190 beats per minute. I'm following him at the moment. We're out in front with Kim Little, 65 k's an hour down this descent.
I'm pretty sure there was enough power laid down on the leg snapper to power the entirety of the city center of Innsbruck. There were orange numbers from the bottom to the top. It was insane. Kim Little even attacked before the gradient even started to go up. He was at 10 watts per kilo going over the bridge on that 2% false flat. And then he just held it from bottom to the top. And I think we're going to see 2 times that more as they have to go over that again. Like, the thing about this course, it is only about 30 minutes in length when you race it really hard like these guys do, and it's just so intense. And we can see Nick White. Nick White did put in an attack. His heart rate is 193, and he's now forced to get back on. So when everyone else, I say resting, when everyone else is sitting comfortably at 4 watts per kilo, Nick White is being like forced to do 10, 11 watts per kilo just to get back on. And the worst thing is now it starts to go up a tiny bit again as they cross under the sprint finish. It goes up to a false flat of 1, 2%. So where everyone else has rested on the downhill, Nick now has to struggle again. Like, look at his heart rate. It's going up. It's not even going down yet. Mr. Coach Pat Shaw, what would you say right now to your coach rider out on the course? What's the correct way of tackling this course?
Well, not like he has so far. But, I mean, we went out tonight. I said to him to go out and put the jersey on display, so just have some fun. He's done that with an attack. He'll now have to recover. But there was, like we saw last week, we already have several riders out the back. Okay, a fair few of them are in the B grade category. We've got G. Harvey that's kept up from B grade that's in the main bunch. But otherwise, most of the riders that have been dropped have been in the B grade category. A few in the A grade category, and that's not unusual. Last week we saw this race break up very quickly, and some of the pre-race favourites really struggled with that first ascent. Mind you, that was a lot quicker than last week's ascent up the leg snapper. Be interesting to see after they go through the to get the 3 laps to go. Should it be? Yes. 2 laps to go. It'll be interesting to see whether Nick White's heart rate has also dropped back down. But Kim Little, I think he's the one to watch tonight, Jesper.
You say Nick White is becoming a
down to
teacher?
157.
Maybe Nick White could teach you some common math, Pat. It's 2 laps to go once they cross underneath the finish line here in just a second. We do see Linton Savatsky is on the start line tonight. I know he's been busy traveling around with his wife, so he's part of Team Vision, which they got Cameron Roberts as well out on course. And Savatsky, last year's Ecrit Series, he was known as the Mark Cavendish, the Caleb Ewan, the explosive sprinter that can take anyone on the line. A course like this, I would imagine he's a bit too heavy to get over the final ascent, Pat. Like, he's got the numbers to win a sprint, but it really shouldn't be his sort of course, is it, Pat?
Yeah, well, that's fair to say. It's great to see on display 2 national kits tonight. But, yeah, you're right. It probably shouldn't suit him. But as I said last week, it wasn't really the ride. Like, Zach Johnson deserved 100% the victory last week, and he rode an incredible ride. But I think it came down to him having the ability to risk it all to win. And if someone's got that ability to do that, they make it over the top within 3 or 4 seconds over the top the last time at the leg snapper, they are in it with a chance to win it. But they're going to have to risk it all to take the victory. And they're going to want to also have probably some form of power-up still in their armoury as they come down that last kilometre, because the last kilometre is not super easy on this course, and on your own with a bunch streaming down behind you, it can be awfully difficult to stay away.
See, this is going to be controversial, Pat, because I believe the finishing straight is super technical, and if you're watching out there and you're listening and you're like, Jesper, it's Zwift. It's not technical. You ride your bike. But the way you have to handle the final 2 kilometers, it is so difficult to be in the right position, to use the power up at the right moment, because no one has ridden this course enough. No one has raced this course the amount of times they raced Watopia, they raced London, they raced Richmond. Oh, not really Richmond, but no one has done enough to know where to launch and when to launch. And that's why it's so nervy. Like, it's so nervy every time we get to that finishing straight. You can just see everyone like virtually looking over their shoulder, like looking to the right, seeing the power being put down and just waiting for the right moment, because as far as I can remember, Pat, we haven't seen that awesomely timed Aaron Dunn counterclockwise volcano circuit sprint just yet. No one has mastered the course in either the crit or the chop.
No, no, no one has. And I still think that even if someone finds a way to sort of execute their power up to perfection, this course really offers a chance for the riders to change the result. I think on London Classic, generally, if you get up to Trafalgar, you're going to be in a bunch sprint of some description unless someone rides an incredible ride. Where here, if you back off the pedals at any point and someone's got the real guts to go for it, even if it's 2 kilometers to go, it's as if the bunch is unlikely to chase immediately, and they'll wait for one another, and that's close enough to the finish to stick through to the finish. As I think Cam Roberts is now lifting at the front, he's gone off the front again. He wants this opportunity to get across to Zach Johnson, who has a 7-second lead on the group. Zach Johnson has just slipped up the road without us realising he has a lead. Brought back to 5 seconds now. Cam Roberts, the one that has instigated this chase, but Kim Little has responded. Ollie Jones, the winner of the Zwift Academy last year, he's responded. Your friend Adam Webb from One Love, he's amongst it as well. And Nick White seems to have recovered somewhat. He's leading that second group to bring that bunch up to join this Roberts group in pursuit of Zach Johnson, who just loves to be aggressive.
This is why this course is so tough, because it's so short. It's only about 26 kilometers in length, I believe, in total. And every time there comes a lull in the action, every time you think, oh, this is a nice pace, I can rest up, my legs can get better, someone will attack off the front. Whether it's Zach Johnson, Cameron Roberts, or Adam Webb, someone will attack. And as soon as the pace comes back down again, you're on the leg snapper, and then you have to go deep again. So this is really crit racing at its finest. When John Mayfield and the rest of the crew in Long Beach designed this course, they've really made the ultimate Zwift racing course, because there's never ever a slow moment of racing, whether it's the crit, whether it's the chop, whatever race you're doing on this course is so short, so explosive, that you always have to pay attention. Like, I felt this when I raced it. Like, I got to this point and I'm like, I can do this. Heart rate's coming down. Then someone attacked off the front, and I had to dig so deep just to get back on the wheel that when I got to the back of the wheel, I was at 200 beats at the bottom of the leg snapper. Like, Pat, just shoot me already. Oh, that's not fun. That is painful. But it looks like Zach Johnson is set on it not being a sprint.
Yeah, well, I think he knows from last week, if he keeps the pressure on, it will break the bunch at some point, and a response will have to come. Last week, he made a very similar move to this on this exact point of the race. He was brought back in the square with the cafes before the leg snapper, and he stuck on while the others were aggressive to respond to his attack. They tried to counter-attack him as such, but he didn't get dropped. But what it did do was it split the group, and only 11 made it over on this second ascent of the leg snapper. So it will be interesting to see how many make it over this time. But it's also with your comments about this course and it being designed almost to perfection for Zwift racing, we've seen that evident in the chop as well. And we've seen our best races of the chop on this circuit in Innisbrook, because you just never know if a group has got enough lead in front, be it D or C grade, or whether or not A grade can make up enough on that final ascent up the leg snapper. And we've seen that these last weeks, where it looks like A grade are going to catch the front group in the chop on a Thursday night, and they miss out, and they're devastated. And then there's other times like last week's chop, where A grade were like, we've got this, and Wes and I were certain that they were going to win easily. And then D grade just stepped it up another notch the last time up the leg snapper, and then they just all went hell for leather down the other side, and they held on for an incredible victory. So it's just never over on this course. And more than ever, fatigue management is crucial. But I think what you drew a very important circle around was the distance of the course. Yeah, it's a shorter race in the E-Crit on this circuit, but so far we've seen that that's been a proven method to make it a more interesting race.
Have you seen Zach Johnson has slipped off the front? He's actually 18 seconds off the front as we are approaching the bottom of the second ascent of the leg snapper. I was looking around the peloton, half awaiting an attack from Adam Webb, because he does have this tendency to try and bridge a gap once somebody gets 10 seconds off the road. But it was looking like everyone just looked at each other going, I'm not chasing this one down. You can do it. And then Zach Johnson kind of just snapped the elastic, and now he's 22nd off the road. He's going to attack this climb like he was with the bunch, so he's going to get over the top, and then he has to just follow this for another lap, and then he's going to have a solo victory. Like, we haven't seen this since Ollie Jones did this last year in the E-Crit on the London course. He attacked on lap 2 and solo broke away for 4 laps, averaging 5.5 watts per kilo for like 40 minutes. So Zach Johnson, Zwift Academy, busy. I mean, he's looking like the real deal now, up to 24 seconds. And Pat, he's even popping the aero power up on the leg snapper. This says to me, Pat, that this is all or nothing from the young guy from WP TAS.
Yes, but it can all go pear-shaped. This is a similar move to he made last week, but he didn't get out to this gap. He had 12 seconds at the bottom of the leg snapper in this exact position, and they brought him back almost right at the top, and we can see that gap now. Kim Little responding from behind. Your man, Adam Webb. Ollie Jones, who you spoke about. The Australian champion, Nick White, is there. Steve Richards also, and Cab Roberts, and your man, Pepper, very close. So they're coming now, and they're closing in, and you can see them just in the background of Zach Johnson. He's done the same move as last week, and this is wondering whether this time he's got it right. Big moves from behind, but Zach Johnson, he comes down the descent now. He's really backed off the power there for a moment. His heart rate right up 190 beats per minute. A bit of variance in the power output, 260, 400. He's getting some variance there, but this is where it's really tough for him to get back around another lap all the way around to the leg snapper. And now Ollie Jones caught in the middle. So Zach Johnson out in front, about 8 seconds back to Ollie Jones, and then the bunch 3 seconds behind him, led by Nicholas White.
But what he does have going for him is the fact that he's already got the gap. And thinking about it, if he can just get to the split point with a few seconds, it should go back out again because everyone should be resting up. But the gap is down to 3 seconds, 2 seconds. If you look over the shoulder, you can see the pack is now chasing in, and he's going to get caught.
Yeah, it is. It's actually Nick White that we hope he would put on a show tonight, and he is doing it now. So he's going to make the junction at first to our solo leader, Zach Johnson. What this has done is put it into Zach Johnson's range, a bit like a golfer. Now he's right within his pitching wedge because that group is now down to that smaller size. And I think that's where Zach Johnson really backs himself in, is a smaller group coming to the finish and hoping that they try and play cat and mouse while he slips away. And this is about the exact point that he attacked last week on the last lap. So let's just see a few cursing words coming through from Steve Richards. I think this is showing just how tough this course is and how hard it can be raced.
Just a quick words to our producer, which we actually do have tonight, as you see all the different drone shots and instant replays and pop-ups. We do have Mr. Johnny Noblet helping us tonight. Johnny, if you could just stick on this camera for a second as I reboot my Zwift so I can actually get back into the action, that would be great. But we did have an attack from Zach Johnson. Pat, he should be tired now. Like, what are the odds of us seeing another attack before the end from Zach?
Well, what we've got is immediately a counter attack from Cam Roberts. He's gone off the front. He's got a German rider with him. I'm going to say Hiblik 8-bar team is who it is. And he's gone off the front. So those two riders together now have a 5-second lead, which is about 100 meters. Not a big lead, but enough to really put Zach Johnson under pressure. If I go back to Zach Johnson, have a look, he's still at 180 beats per minute. He's trying to make the push, though. He's not sitting back. He's actually trying to drag them back. But you can see the group. They're really starting to hurt. But in the middle there, M. Pepper still amongst it. He was a B grader just a month ago, upgraded himself to A grade. He's also doing the Zwift Academy. Great to see so many green badges next to the riders' names tonight. But we're starting to see some big moves here as it looks like it is your man, Adam Webb, all for the one love. He's trying to go across to these front two with a gap of 3 seconds.
It's a great move from Cameron Roberts, trying to capitalize on the fact that somebody's just put in a massive effort over the top. Everyone thinks the pace is going to go down. That's the exact moment you should go over the top and go on to the attack. And he has done that with Heislik 8-bar team from Germany. but is now all back together as we are about to head out to the final lap of racing on the Innsbruck ring here in the Innsbruck course of this night's KISS E-Crit race from Australia. This is actually the course, or some of the course, that the World Championships are going to be racing on in about 2 weeks' time in Austria. So it's quite exciting to see. Well, I was going to say your average Joe, but let's be honest. These Australians, Brits, and whoever else is racing tonight's E-Crit are well above the average Joe because they are putting out massive numbers out on course to produce this level of entertainment tonight here on Zwift Community Live. But yeah, you can race this course if you want to. You can open up Zwift, you can get on, join any race at any time of the day, and you too can see what the pros are going to tackle in about 2 weeks' time. But Pat Shaw, are you ready with a bell? Because here we go. This is the final lap of racing. Let's hear that bell.
So they come through this last time, Jesper. It's a great bell, and shout out to Ben Gove. He sent the bell in. Big shout out to Barumba Organics. That's our bell sponsor. And I just wanted to say, furthermore to what you were talking about, the World Championships coming up, I think that's the marvelous thing about this circuit, that we have so many people that tune in to watch and support their nation's best at the World Championships or their favourite riders. But very few times do those supporters get to actually go out and get the real feel of what the World Championships is like. And now with Zwift, that opportunity is available. And I actually really think this is the best course on Zwift for mine. I really get excited about when the Innsbruck course pops up. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's just because it's a new course. I think it's a seriously challenging course, and it's one that people can really feel great about accomplishing a completion of the course. So whether you do the ring or the bigger course, it's really, at the end of it, you feel like you've really gone and pushed yourself. So here we go, last lap. This is where the fireworks are really going to go off. If you can't put out a good sprint, you're going to be laying it on real hard up the leg snapper. And by the way, Jesper, you call it the leg snapper. I think it has stuck.
Oh, it's definitely stuck. It is a bit of a heat of the moment, and we got lucky, I guess, that it just fits very well. I just want to, you called out Ben Gove. I've just seen Wesley Salzberger chatting in the game as he has just led a Zwift Academy group ride. So he may not be commentating with us tonight, but he's still out there on the Innsbruck course leading out a ride. And also, let's give a quick shout out to Wendy Superfan, who I believe is in a bit of needs a bit of support from all of us. She is one who always gives out the love. And I think if you're watching and you know who Wendy is, you should send some love back her way, as she's always one to keep everybody's moods and spirits up and high. So 6 kilometers to go. Pack is all back together.
All the best to Wendy.
It's slowing down, Pat. That means only one thing. Who's going to attack in about 30 seconds?
Well, I think Kim Little was very responsive last week. I think he's going to be one to put it down again. Obvious ones that stand out are obviously Zach Johnson and Cam Roberts. But I think Cam Roberts really will back himself in a sprint. I know that in the back of his mind, he will be thinking about running second to Nick White, who came over him in just the final meters in the National Championship. But maybe, just maybe, I've got one out of the woodwork here. Ben Andrews sitting tightly in about, I think he's about 12th wheel at the moment. I think he could try something on this last time up the leg snapper. So Ben Andrews, he's a teammate of Nick White's in real life racing in the National Road Series. Maybe we see a move from him, currently starting to move up. And well, did I call his name at the right time? We'll see. But Ben Andrews, so keep an eye out for him. And then for the win tonight, well, I'll have to back in my man Nick.
Oh, I'm going to go out of left field. I see a little innovation friend, Carl Smith, who I've called Chris Smith for about 2 months in a row before someone rectified that about 2 weeks ago in a broadcast that he did actually win. So Carl Smith from Innovation. I think we're going to see him take I'd say a somewhat surprising victory, but I think he's been very quiet so far. He's still in the peloton. He'll be over the top. Everyone will be looking at each other, and he's going to pop that aero power up at the exact moment, and he's going to take off with a win. But tonight's, like, the peloton that we do have left standing is so strong. Like, the field here,
Yeah.
anyone can win. Like, it's really, really difficult to pick one name out of the hat, as there are, what, 50 different possibilities here, 50 different scenarios, as we head up the leg snapper for the last time.
I want to, furthermore, with Carl, I want to say a big shout out to him for his national championships in the New Zealand Nationals. His ride was incredible. He got a bit double teamed in the end, and I think he was definitely a rider that should have been on the podium. I think he's around fourth or fifth in the end. He might have thrown the toys out of the pram a little bit towards the end because he realised he wasn't going to win, but it was an inspiring ride. So Carl Smith, you say, I tip my hat to Carl because the ride in the Zwift National Championships, where he was up against it a bit, he was very strong, and I did see it and really appreciate it. Adam Webb on the move for One Love. Kim Little, British national kit. He's on the wheel straight away. Seen those pink wheels turning. He's amongst it, and they're coming up to produce some serious wattage at the base of the leg snapper. This is where it really happens. M. Pepper, you know when he's available because he looks like a bit like Incredible, Mr. Incredible. He's that big and puffy on the screen, but he continues to do well on this course, Jesper.
Yeah, I cringe when watching this because Adam Webb might only be pushing out 5.5 watts per kilo, but for him, that's almost 550 watts. Like, this man is a unit. And because we're on a flat course right now, in a flat segment, it's the absolute watts that have more of an effect out on course. So to draft, to sit in, you got to be producing like watts up through the roof just to sit in now. And I think what we're seeing is Adam Webb working for Kim Little. So he's going to set the pace up high, leading into the leg snapper as they're about to hit it in just 10 seconds. And as soon as we hit the bottom of the climb, we're going to see Kim Little go over the top and then go for it on the descent and try and win the sprint. So this is the two Brits working together, because I do know they have the little group chat going on, you know, texting each other, messaging in the game, like saying how are you feeling, etc., looking who to look out for. So this is Adam Webb emptying the tank for the last time up the leg snapper. Pat Shaw, this is going to be fireworks.
It's going to be, and this is absolute textbook. I mean, this is the stuff we look forward to in the Grand Tours, isn't it? Kim Little, he's now stuck on the front of his own, but Nick White takes over. That was a brilliant piece of work there by Adam Webb, but I think that's the last we're going to see of him tonight. Kim Little now realises that he's got to keep that herd on, because there seems to be a fair few in this group tonight that are happy to do a bunch sprint. Now over the top. Steve Richards pushes it. Ollie Jones is now getting involved. Cam Roberts, Nick White trying to stay in touch as well. Ben Andrews, mentioned him earlier. Well, he's going to find the going a bit tough here. Well, those big orange numbers are popping up, 10 watts per kilo. That's 600 pure watts. Try produce that just for even 100 meters. Cameron Roberts, he continues to push hard up the climb.
And so does Ollie Jones, who goes over the top. We saw Kim Little started to fade. All that work from Adam Webb. And Kim Little's coming over the top in about 5th or 6th position. But this could be Ollie Jones's return to glory with 3.5 kilometers to go. He comes over the top with a 2-second gap. And he's either going to have to build it out now or rest up and get back into the group. Nick White is the first one to make the junction. The Aussie national champion on Zwift is in this front group. We do see Aaron Dunn has been dropped. He's 12 seconds off the back. Carl Smith is 7 seconds off the back. That last time has broken the peloton in half, but there's one more chance to get back on now, as there's another little gradient that goes up to 6-7% as they will fire over. And this is your last chance to really get back into this group, unless they start cat and mousing. For some reason, that was a tongue twister, Pat.
Yeah, well, it can be. And at the moment, it's a select group that's in this front situation. So Cam Roberts has put himself right where he needs to be. Ollie Jones right there as well. Kim Little is involved. So it's a decent group, about 6 or 7 here. They're going to take it out today. But Zach Johnson has been left behind, as has M. Pepper and a few others. Ben Andrews couldn't hang on. Carl Smith tries to make the junction. He's trying to come across this group and get involved in this race as well. But all right, it's going to be an interesting rundown. I think Nick White probably the quickest there at the minute, but on this course, maybe it will be a strong rider like Cam Roberts or Kim Little that can slip up the road. About now is when Zach Johnson made his move last week. Can one of those riders do the same?
We're seeing it now. It's the German, it's Heislich 8-bar team who's going on to the attack now. He's trying to get away. You see Nick White, you see Cameron Roberts in their orange numbers, while Kim Little was the first and the quickest to react to it now as they turn right and they head out to the last 1.6 kilometers of racing. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's race here in the E-Crit powered by KISS has been fast, it's been furious, and it's now coming to an end. 6 riders are up for the win here. Who is it gonna be? Heislich tried to get away. We got Ollie Jones, the winner of Zwift Academy, racer of Dimension Data. We got Nick White, runner-up in the Zwift Academy, and also winner of the Nationals here in Zwift Australia. We got Kim Little, who is the national champion of Great Britain. Cameron Roberts, who has done absolutely everything in his power to win week in, week out in both the chop and the crit. We've got Richards up here, and we've got the German. Here we go. Keep an eye on the top right-hand corner. You can see when they hit, or when they can see the finish line. That is the arch. We got Kim Little leading off the front. Pat, how do you play it right now? Where do you want to be heading into the sprint?
About third position, I think, and you need to respond as soon as well, Cam Roberts is usually the guy that goes first, so I'd be watching him. That would be where my eyes would be peeled.
Do you see this, Pat?
Keep an eye out. Look at this move here now. This is a long move from Ollie Jones. Is he doing the job for another Zwift Academy finalist, Nick White? He's going long. I can't see the power data, but he would be pushing some pretty high wattage, I would assume. They look pretty fatigued. It's going to be who times it best, who has the power-ups as well. The power-ups are going to be vital in this finish. Last week, solo victory to Zach Johnson, but this week looks like we're going to have a bunch sprint, Jesper. Can we have someone execute the aero power-up to the maximum?
Oh, about 500 meters to go right about now as we've got Kim Little being the patron on the front. When are they going to pop their power-ups? Here we're going to see. Now we're leading into the sprint now. 400 meters to go. They can see the finish line. Ollie Jones has already attacked, and Richard goes again. Ollie goes again, and so does Nick White. Kim Little's got nothing left. Ollie Jones the first one to launch, but he's got Richards in his slipstream. Where are the power-ups? They don't need them, but Nick White, it's 18.5 watts per kilogram. Absolute machine, 21 watts per kilo. But it's Kim Little versus Cameron Roberts to the line. It's going to be Cam Roberts, Kim Little, and Heislich. I want to know what happened to Nick White. He had 21 watts per kilo and then straight back down to 0. Pat, did he snap the chain? Like, what happened there?
I don't know. I'm not live on the ground with Nick, and I had a few little issues with my screen itself, but I'll have to ask him what happened there. There's definitely a spike there and then a dropout. But it was great to see the national kits on offer tonight. We were lucky enough to see both the British national kit and also the Australian, Kim Little and Nick White. So big thumbs up to those two riders and a nice victory there as well.
It was a great sprint. It looked like Kim Little had nothing left when that sprint initially kicked off. He then brought it back thanks to the aero power-up, but by that time, Cameron Roberts was already in his slipstream and just had that bit extra to go over the top. And it looked like he won by about half a bike length at the very end. So on the throw, Cameron Roberts takes the E-Crit. And that's 35 minutes of non-stop racing. Like, if you look at the TSS, it's probably up there, despite it being quite short. But I think we do maybe have a replay of the finish, if we can get that up on the big screen, Pat. Can you see this, Pat?
Yeah, I can. And I just got a message through from Nick White. You wouldn't believe it. Battery flat on the power meter. So a power meter cut out. What timing could you have? How's that overhead? And the world stripes across the line. And a terrific sprint finish. We got what we asked for in that sprint finish, Jesper.
There we go. It's actually almost a bike and a half in between Cameron Roberts and Kim Little, as we can see the finishing line shot right there. And the big MVP, as always in the KISS races, is that aero power up, the turtle shell. It really was what made the difference between Cameron Roberts and Kim Little in that sprint. But we saw, before the power meter went out, we saw 21 watts per kilo from Nick White. You said he was the best sprinter. I think the only solution to this, Pat, is to bring him back next Tuesday and raise it again. But before we get to that, Pat, let's see the provisional result of this night's Equip Power by KISS. So Cameron Roberts takes the win. Then second place, we got Kim Little. We got Mr. Heischlich team in from Germany in third place. Nicholas White fourth. Stephen Richards fifth. Ollie Jones sixth. Carl Smith. Jerome Marlout, who we didn't really touch upon too much, but the Frenchman from KRT did well. Zach Johnson tried his best. Solo breakaway. Didn't get too far. And then in 10th place, who always brings a smile on my face, Pat, Mr. Michael Pepper.
Yeah, no, it's a strong top 10 and some great redemption there for Cam Roberts. You know, he did everything right coming into the finish, timed his sprint to perfection, regardless of a dropout in the power meter for Nick White. I think Cam Roberts probably had that one sewn up. It was between him and Kim Little. It was a great battle. So now I think
next
we're going
up, Pat,
back to you.
Yeah, I think next up we do have a little highlights montage of tonight's E-Crit race. So let's just see how exactly the race was won. So we started off fast. We got to the bottom of the first leg snapper, and we'd spoken up every single rider because the start list tonight was so packed with Adam Webb, Aaron Lux, Kim Little, Cameron Roberts, Aaron Dunn, Nick White, Ollie Jones. I mean, Zach Johnson, the list goes on. Where do you really pull the stop on that? The Aussie national jersey from Zwift was out on full display tonight as Pat Shaw whipped it out on course, and good thing he did because he really put it on display. We saw Adam Webb give it everything on the final ascent off the leg snapper to try and put Kim Little in that right position, and Kim did try to go over the top, but I think he was just a bit too fatigued on the third ascent of the leg snapper. I'll have to talk to him afterwards to get the full report. But the attack from Adam Webb, you said, Pat, that was like a Grand Tour lead out. You can see literally he just goes to the side and stops as soon as his pull in the front is over, and we got Kim Little in the Union Jack jersey. Take it away, Pat.
Yeah, well, I just think if he could have gone a little bit later and launched Kim Little right at the base of this climb, that could have been a difference maker. But it was Cam Roberts who then took over from Kim Little, and Ollie Jones with a head full of steam come over the top. But then it was an interesting move. Nick White was the first to make the junction to Ollie Jones on the descent, and he kept pushing the power. It was then joined by an interesting group. It was Kim Little, Ollie Jones, Steve Richards, the young man from Germany as well, was there to sprint out, finishing third. But it was a big fight down to the line for a sprint finish. And I had my money on my man, Nick White, but did mention Cam Roberts would be the guy to follow in the sprint. And, well, it came right down to a bunch sprint in the end. And amongst what you said, and you were so right, such a strong group. And literally at the moment, I think the Zwift racing scene is at its peak. Nick White following Ollie Jones into the final 500 metres, but probably just a little too much too early. And then we saw the launch early from Kim Little, Cam Roberts over the top, and a strong sprint to the line. It'll be interesting to see the power data on Zwift Power later on. So Kim Little comes over the top, and then just on the line, last grasp. I think they still hit their aero power-ups a bit early tonight. As we can see, they still extend out after the finish, Jesper. So not an Aaron Dunn perfection execution on the aero power-ups, but certainly Cam Roberts will be happy enough to take out the win.
I was very impressed with Ollie Jones tonight. We saw Ollie, he's just come off racing the Tour of Hungary, where he's tried to go into the attack. He's worked on the front of the peloton, if you've seen the Eurosport footage. And he really looked like he was spinning a high cadence tonight, putting out big power. Looked like he had more in the tank as well. And it's always great to see Ollie come back after he's had a bit of a troubled season with injuries. And I really look forward to see what Ollie's going to do next year, as I've got I see such a bright future for the guy. And I really just wish that he could have one season without some poor luck and just give it everything. Because we've seen him on Zwift. We've seen him in the E-Crits and the Chop. The man is talented. Like, I'm just happy to see him back tonight in great shape. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's it from us tonight here on Swift Community Live. If you enjoyed the broadcast, make sure to follow the page. That way you always see when we go live, regardless of what it might be. There's all sorts of different broadcasts around the clock here on the Facebook page or wherever you're watching. Thank you so much, Pat, for being my co-commentator and basically having to listen to me talk for about 40 minutes. I know. Thank you, Pat. Also, a massive thank you to our head producer tonight, which is Johnny Nublet behind the scenes, making this broadcast a bit more special than the usual. And also, last but not least, thank you to you, the viewer and the racer, for making tonight fun. We'll see you guys next time.